In the New York Times, Nicholas Kristof writes, a president's central job is not policy wonk, but national team captain. There, Obama failed us. He has not made the case for his policies, nor has he comforted the nation as Franklin Roosevelt did in his fireside chats, end quote. Joining me now, presidential historian, author as well, Douglas Brinkley. Thank you so much, Doug, for joining me. What do you make of this op-ed from Nicholas Kristof saying that he believes the president has failed? He did not live up to this Franklin Roosevelt of fireside chats?
Well, I don't think that it's a different era. When the fireside chats went on, it was, FDR using radio to talk about the Great Depression. I think President Obama's on TV all the time. He's done about as many interviews as any president could be. In fact, some people say he's been overexposed. But what I think is true is that while some of President Obama's speeches read well on paper, you can read his foreign policy plank from his Nobel Prize-winning speech or his Cairo speech. I could list you 20 of them. They read well, but you don't really have that moment that we feel that President Obama healed us. I think back to Tucson when the congresswoman was shot, and that was a really riveting moment, but he's yet to have one of those defining speeches. After all, FDR was selling the New Deal. What has Barack Obama been selling? I'm going to help get us out of the recession. It doesn't quite have the historic magnitude of the era of FDR.
We were looking, of course, at the speech in 2004, 2008. The stakes are different. As you pointed out, these are not the same set of circumstances as far as time and where we are as a country. Valerie Jarrett and other advisors have said the president is not really going to go down a laundry list of his accomplishments. This will be a shorter speech than many of the speeches that we've seen in the past. Do you believe that's a wise strategy at this point?
I think short is always good. Bill Clinton's the exception of the rule. He was Babe Ruth last night, and he went long and scored. But I think you're in Denver in 2008. It was Yes We Can, which is a Cesar Chavez grassroots saying. It was a grassroots campaign. And he was a rock star, a superstar coming into Denver. It had a gigantic backdrop. Charlotte's a very small, tight quarters. Yeah. He's now not the inexperienced guy in foreign affairs. He's the old hand. He's the guy who's getting us out of Iraq and Afghanistan, killed Osama bin Laden. And I would go very commander-in-chief-like tonight if I'm Barack Obama. Mitt Romney did not evoke the troops properly, Afghanistan or Iraq. In fact, we're at war. Right. And I'd also go Ronald Reagan a little bit. Talk about real middle-class people, and talk about people that need health care, that are dying because they can't get a proper doctor to treat their liver, or they don't have somebody to help them with their heart condition.
As I understand it, you also said, and this is a quote if it's accurate, that he needs to be more African-American pulpit than professorial. What does that mean? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think that he's got to show some emotion, particularly when you're following Bill Clinton. I was there in Charlotte last night, and as you know, it's electrifying Bill Clinton. That's your warm-up act. Boy, you better be good. And you just don't want to do a kind of teleprompter as if you're addressing the nation during the BP oil spill or something, talking in a mundane way. You're going to want to really get your voice going, show some of the emotion. He does that on the campaign. I caught the president in Ohio when he gets into, if we had let General Motors fail, Toledo would have failed, and because of Champion spark plugs, or Dayton would have failed, and Akron, that people go crazy for that, because Mitt Romney saying I would have abandoned Detroit, I think is his weakest suit. So while you're commander-in-chief, be presidential, but when you start getting into the economy, really throw some red meat to that crowd. The president's done. You want this to be seen as a 1-2 punch. Clinton, Obama, with Michelle, the First Lady, setting the stage properly a couple nights ago.
All right, thank you so much. It's always a great pleasure to get your history, your knowledge of it, and certainly the direction things are going in this country. We all need to look back occasionally, or if not more often. Thank you, Douglas. And ahead of tonight's acceptance speech by President Obama and Vice President Biden, among